What's up, Vault Dwellers? Dan here, and welcome back to the ultimate guide to Hammer Horror. This is part 2, where we're covering films 40 through 21. And if you happen to have missed part 1, there's a link to that video at the end of this one, and one in the description. And I've also included the full list of part 1's rankings in that description if you want to catch up. Now, this middle section, this is where Hammer really starts to hit its stride. These are the films that shaped the genre and still hold up today. Part 3, it's going to reveal my top 20, the films that made Hammer a legend. But first, let's dig into the next 20. The Abominable Snowman features Peter Cushing, and he's leading an expedition to the Himalayas, and they're searching for the Yeti. What he finds changes his perspective on humanity. This is a thoughtful sci-fi horror.
This is complete madness, friend, and you know it.
That's just more interested in ideas than thrills. You barely see the creature. And that's the whole point. The real horror here, it's human greed and exploitation. Forrest Tucker, he plays the American showman who's just determined to capture a Yeti for profit, and he makes a very compelling antagonist. This was shot in black and white with expressionistic shadows, and it feels different from other Hammer productions. It's slow and meditative, which it's not going to work for everyone, but I find myself returning to it. X, the Unknown was written by Jimmy Sangster after executives told him, "You go write it if you think you can do better." And this proto-Quatermass thriller, and by the way, if I said that wrong, I totally apologize. It features a radioactive blob creature who's emerging from underground. Dean Jagger plays the scientist trying to stop it, and the effects, they're primitive, but the atmosphere is thick with Cold War paranoia. You know, it's got that documentary realism Val Guest brought to Quatermass films, and just watching it, you can see Hammer figuring out their horror formula in real time. It's not quite as sophisticated as what came after it, but it is an absolutely fascinating evolutionary step.
What's he doing? Peter! Peter, don't go any closer! Peter, don't go any closer! Peter! Peter! Peter, don't be a fool! Get back! Get back!
Hands of the Ripper features Jack the Ripper's daughter, and she was traumatized by witnessing her father's crimes as a child. And she grows up to commit murders on her own, but in this trance state.
Mrs. Goldie?
Eric Porter, he plays a psychiatrist who's trying to cure her through early psychoanalysis.
Now look, damn it, what are you playing at? Is this some sort of trick?
This thing is really disturbing in places. I mean, there's this death involving a hat pin that just made me wince, like a lot. The Victorian London setting, it's just gorgeous, and the film takes its psychology seriously instead of using it as an excuse for the kills. It's one of Hammer's better late period efforts, and it mixes exploitation and intelligence beautifully. Fanatic stars Tallulah Bankhead, and it's her final film role. And this time, she plays a religious fanatic who imprisons her dead son's fiancé. This movie, released in the United States, has Die, Die, My Darling, which should tell you everything you need to know about how they marketed it.
This gun is dangerous, Patricia.
Bankhead is just absolutely unhinged in this thing. And this was a fantastic last act for her. Stephanie Powers, she plays the victim, and watching her just slowly realize she's in real danger, it's incredibly effective. This is from Hammer's psychological thriller cycle, and while it's not as polished as some of the others, Bankhead's performance alone makes it worth watching. It's camp, it's creepy, in both equal measure.
I'll pay you to let me out of here.
In what way, love?
Don't!
You're not bad looking, are you? It's not bad at all.
Bette Davis in The Nanny as a nanny who may or may not be dangerous to the 10-year-old boy that's in her care. The kid, he just got out of a psychiatric facility after allegedly killing his sister, and nobody believes him when he says the nanny's the real threat.
Nanny understands. She's on your side.
No, you're not.
This is psychological horror at its finest. I mean, you're never quite sure who to trust until the devastating reveal. Davis brings all her old Hollywood gravitas to the role.
If you don't remove yourself from this fire escape immediately, I shall be forced to inform your employers, and they will not be pleased.
And William Dix, he's just so creepy as the boy.
Help me! Please, someone help!
Seth Holt, his direction is just masterfully restrained in this movie. It's one of Hammer's best non-gothic horrors, and Davis deserved just more recognition for it.
Good morning, Master Jerry. I see you found your appetite again.
I never lost it. I'm just not going to eat anything you make.
I cooked your father's breakfast.
Yes, but you wouldn't poison him.
When These Are the Damned was filmed for Hammer, the studio clearly didn't know what they had with this film, and it was shelved for like 2 years after production. But this movie is just remarkable. Basically, it's a science fiction film about 9 radioactive children who are all aged 11, and they're being raised in a secret bunker cave to survive a nuclear war.
Where are we?
Hush! No one's to speak.
These kids, they're all healthy, but they're just cold to the touch, like they're no longer alive.
Simon, our hands as cold as ice. He doesn't get warm when I touch him.
And these kids, they're also educated and monitored by surveillance cameras in this dystopian environment.
If you do not help me, I will be forced to take your hideout away from you.
The ending to this movie is just so bleak in a way mainstream 60s films, they rarely were. Hammer marketed this with busty shots of an actress that had just nothing to do with the plot, and it totally flopped. Rediscovered now, this is one of the most fascinating films you can watch.
The children themselves are radioactive.
The children. What in heaven's name are you doing?
You can't be expected to understand.
I'm taking them out of here. You can't do that.
four-sided triangle is early Fisher and early Hammer, and you can just see the seeds of greatness growing in this film. It's about two scientists who both love the same woman. So one of them decides to duplicate her. It's basically a Frankenstein story about romantic obsession. And this was shot on a shoestring budget with ideas way above its station.
But what are they?
We call it a reproducer. You might also call it a duplicator.
How does it work? What does it do?
Barbara Payton, she plays both women, and there's just something just tragic about the whole endeavor. The science fiction elements, they're charmingly dated today, but the emotional core, it still holds up. Not many people talk about this one, but this is where Fisher started developing his themes about obsession and playing God. In Spaceways, we have another scientist, but this one's accused of murdering his wife and her lover, and then hiding their bodies in a satellite.
And does your little man say why I went to all this trouble?
Well, he's got a theory. A very nasty theory. Murder.
To prove his innocence, he has to go to space and check. Yeah, seriously. It's more thriller than science fiction, with Howard Duff playing the wrongly accused protagonist. The space sequences, they're minimal, but the mystery, it keeps you guessing.
Philip, I want you. I want you so much. You've got to take me away from this concentration camp.
Soon, darling, soon.
How soon?
It won't be long, I promise you.
Eva Bartok provides the romantic interest in the film. And this is a pre-horror Hammer, but again, Fisher's craftsmanship, it's already evident in this film. It's not essential, but it is absolutely interesting for seeing where the studio and director started before they found their calling.
But he was supposed to stand by to check the animal reaction in the discarded sections.
I've looked everywhere for him, sir. I even picked up a couple of sergeants on the way. We searched every building and every room. And he hasn't passed through either of the gates. There's not a sign of him. Nor of Mrs. Mitchell.
Maniac is about an American painter in south of France who gets involved with a woman whose husband, he's in an asylum for murder.
Pretty bloody crime.
Mm-hmm. It was so terrible that they found George insane.
Was he insane?
Well, at the moment he must have been. But it was an insanity of rage.
And then, when he meets her teenage daughter, it kind of complicates things even further. The father, he's in jail because he killed a man with a blowtorch who raped his daughter. This psychological thriller has more twists than you'd expect. Kerwin Matthews, he's just solid as the lead, and Nadia Gray, she brings this genuine danger to her femme fatale role. This is part of Hammer's early 60s thriller cycle, and it borrowed heavily from Hitchcock. But this one, it's got its own nasty streak. The final reveal, it actually surprised me, and I think it'll surprise you too.
They will throw their hands in the air and they will say, "He's done it again. The mad Baynard has done it again." But this time he was too smart. The equipment blew up in his face. He's dead. No longer do we need to look for him.
Oliver Reed plays Simon Ashby. He's a cruel, alcoholic heir.
And if you'll be so good, tomorrow you'll get me another dozen bottles of brandy.
I'm settling your accounts, all right? Don't argue with me, man! Get it! Get it!
Trying to have his emotionally fragile sister Eleanor committed so he can inherit the family fortune alone. Their older brother Tony, he supposedly committed suicide years ago by jumping into the sea when he was 15 years old, but his body was never found. Then, a man claiming to be Tony suddenly appears.
William?
Yes, miss?
Who was he?
It was Mr. Tony.
Is he really the long-lost brother, or just an imposter? Jeanette Scott is just excellent as Eleanor, and she's caught between desperate hope and creeping doubt, and her sanity, it's hanging by a thread. The script piles on gothic atmosphere, like a masked figure lurking in the shadows. Sabotage car brakes. And eventually, a mummified corpse hiding behind a wall. Reed is as absolutely magnetic as Simon. He's sweaty and unhinged, but guilt-ridden over a terrible secret that's driven him to madness. The twists keep coming right through to the fiery climax. Nightmare, which is also known as Here's the Knife, Dear. Now Use It. It's about a schoolgirl's mother who murdered her father and then went mad. And now she's having nightmares suggesting the same fate. It awaits her.
Help me, Janet!
Now they've got us both.
Jenny Linden, she plays the terrified young woman. And the nightmare sequences, they're just unsettling. All Dutch angles and expressionist shadows. The first half, it's just a masterclass in building dread. And the second half pivots into something so unexpected, but I'm not going to spoil it here. It's another of Hammer's Hitchcock-influenced psychological thrillers, and it's one of their best. Francis was doing some of his finest work during this period.
Grace, I thought everybody was out. Please, who are you? Oh, please leave me alone. What do you want? Oh, please. Go. No, don't come near me, please.
Okay, now we're getting into the second half of the films, and these are the ones most people think about when they think of Hammer horror. Our next film, Vampire Circus. It's about a circus that arrives at a quarantine village, and the performers, they're all vampires.
May I present your Burgermeister and his beautiful family.
And they're seeking revenge on the descendants of those who killed their master.
His heart! It must be his heart!
This movie is just wildly imaginative. Like there's a shape-shifting panther and these creepy twin performers. The circus setting gives it this visual flair that sets it apart from other vampire films. Adrienne Corr is magnificent as the Vampire Queen. Robert Young's direction is just surprisingly stylish for what was essentially a B picture. The budget, I mean, it shows sometimes, but the ambition does not. It's one of the late-era hammers that's actually a delight.
Should be the first to see the light. No, sir, don't you see? For you, sir, everything is free.
The Witches is Joan Fontaine's final film role, and she plays a schoolteacher who recovers from a nervous breakdown in this peaceful English village, which turns out to be less peaceful than advertised.
Let's go! It's got Look! Look at that.
I'll give it back to you later, Linda.
The horror in this movie, it builds slowly, and probably too slowly for a lot of people. But there is this creeping unease that pays off in the wild third act. Fontaine, she brings movie star presence to material that could have been forgettable in lesser hands. The witchcraft elements are handled more seriously than you'd expect.
Witchcraft? Somebody having a little dabble? Yes, I would think so. Oh, did you think I was going to say no, it can't happen here?
This is a transitional film for Hammer. They're moving from the period Gothic work towards more of a contemporary setting. It's a slow burn, but it's completely worth the patience.
It's a sex thing deep down, of course. Mostly women go in for it. Older women.
Like Mrs. Rigg, for instance.
Yes, they relish the idea of a secret power, especially when their normal powers are failing.
The Shadow of the Cat is about the murder of a wealthy woman for her inheritance by her husband Walter and 2 servants. But her cat, Tabitha, it witnessed the crime. And seems to be picking them off one by one. Is the cat supernatural? Is it intelligent? Or are the killers just paranoid? Andre Morel leads the cast of conspirators, and watching them unravel is just so deeply satisfying. John Gilling shoots the cat's eye sequences with some real creativity in this film. It's essentially an Edgar Allan Poe story, and the atmosphere is thick with guilt and dread. Although the name Hammer doesn't appear in the credits, the film was indeed a Hammer production. It was released without their logo due to a dispute. The Curse of the Werewolf is Hammer's only werewolf film, and what a strange beast it is. In his first starring role, Oliver Reed plays Leon, who was cursed from birth due to a traumatic conception. The first half of this movie is all setup, and I mean like all setup. But it does establish a tragic inevitability that makes the horror hit that much harder.
Lyle?
Reed is young and magnetic, and you really feel for him as the curse takes hold. The transformation scenes, they're impressive for the era. You know, some people though, they find the pacing ponderous, but I appreciate how seriously it takes its own mythology. There's a real tragedy here, not just monster mayhem.
What is it? What happened?
What you said?
Where is he?
I don't know, senor.
There he is up on the roof!
Frankenstein created woman. It really goes places. Baron Frankenstein develops a theory about souls persisting after death and tests it by transferring a dead man's soul into the body of his girlfriend. Susan Denberg plays the transformed woman who begins hunting down those who wronged her lover. It's more metaphysical than the typical Frankenstein story, like asking questions about identity and justice. Hammer used promotional stills of Cushing and Denberg that never appeared in the actual film. It was pure marketing deception. The movie itself is incredibly thoughtful, one of the most underrated Frankenstein entries.
Hans.
Kill him. Kill him. Kill him, Christina.
The Kiss of the Vampire doesn't have Cushing or Lee, but it does have plenty of atmosphere. A honeymooning couple, they break down near a castle, which happens to be inhabited by a vampire cult. The cult leader, it isn't Dracula, but he does have Dracula's charisma.
I like only to be surrounded by beautiful things, and as I am fortunate enough to have the means to satisfy my wish.
And the masked ball sequence is incredibly creepy. The ending involves bats summoned by some occult ritual, and while the effects are dated, the imagery is incredibly striking. This is the kind of Hammer film that proves you don't need the stars to make something memorable. It's just pure gothic atmosphere from start to finish. In Quatermass 2, Professor Quatermass investigates mysterious meteorites that are falling only in a remote area called Winterden Flats. What he discovers is incredibly chilling. It's a massive industrial complex that looks exactly like his own plans for a lunar colony.
By this to a committee of Whitehall bureaucrats? Steel domes where men can live in artificial atmosphere, beings alive in a totally dead world?
But now, it's being used as a center of an alien infiltration that's reaching the highest levels of British government. People who are touched by the meteorites, they develop a V-shaped mark and fall under alien control. including police commissioners and politicians. The film functions as political paranoia, a specific attack on government secrecy and institutional corruption that feels remarkably relevant today. It was a box office success, but got overshadowed by The Curse of Frankenstein releasing the same year.
Quatermass! I'm here. Can't see you. Quatermass. It burns. This is the food. And it burns.
You like it, Uncle?
No, don't touch me!
The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll has an interesting twist to it. Dr. Jekyll is the homely, bearded one, and Mr. Hyde, he's the smooth and handsome one. Paul Massey plays both roles brilliantly.
Who am I?
And Christopher Lee, he shows up as a sleazy friend.
I don't deserve you, Kitty.
You don't. But I deserve you. I deserve nothing better than you.
This movie inverts your expectations, because Hyde, he's charming and seductive.
Indeed, I will. I have business with Henry and friendship, I hope, with you.
Which makes him way more dangerous. The transformation sequences, they rely on lighting and performance rather than makeup. Which, it's a bold choice that mostly works. Dawn Addams, she is just excellent as Jekyll's neglected wife. Unfortunately though, the movie flopped on release, but over time it's been reassessed as one of Fisher's smarter films. The psychology is just way more interesting in this film than most Jekyll adaptations.
For God's sake, man, don't kill him!
You ill, old boy?
Let me alone, Jekyll. Let me alone.
Jekyll.
Christopher Lee considers this film one of his favorites, and he's actually the hero for once.
Do you believe in evil?
As an idea.
Do you believe in the power of darkness?
As a superstition.
Now there you are wrong. The power of darkness is more than just a superstition.
The Duke battles a satanic cult led by Charles Gray at his oily best. This was based on Dennis Wheatley's novel, and it takes black magic seriously as a threat.
Don't look at the eyes, Rex.
Lee campaigned for years to get this made, and his enthusiasm shows in his performance.
The goat of Mendes. The devil himself.
The special effects are, as Lee admitted himself, a bit cheap, like the demon that looks like a rubber costume, but the atmosphere is thick and genuine with menace. The scene in the magic circle, fighting off supernatural attacks through the night, is a classic set piece. And that's part 2, films 40 through 21. We've hit the heart of the Hammer's catalog now. But what about part 3? Well, that's where the legends live, the top 20. We're talking the Dracula films that defined Christopher Lee's career, the Frankenstein entries that made Peter Cushing an icon, the films that started it all and changed horror cinema forever. If you missed part 1, there's a link at the end of the video and also in the description. There's also a full ranking of Part 1 and Part 2 in that description as well. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss Part 3. And why don't you tell me in the comments, what films are you expecting the top 20? What do you think takes the #1 spot? I want to hear your predictions before the final drops. And by the way, keep it weird, folks.
Frankenstein, a remake after 25 years absence from the screen. And I remember seeing the original with Colin Clive and Boris Karloff, and remember it was absolutely wonderful. So I knew there was a break coming in my television work, and I said, what about doing this? It would be a nice one to have a try at.